Hello and welcome back to F&M at the Game Shop Old Shot. Today we're heading into Edge of Eternities Duel Commander set review. This is a set I'm really excited about.
Me too.
It's a Universes Within set, which is always something I prefer. And when it was first announced, I was a bit nervous because it's Magic in Space, and we had a lot of hat sets recently, so I worried this would be that as well. But this feels really like Magic's interpretation of a space set.
Same reasons. I'm excited for the set. Get back into Universes Within.
So heading into our first card here, we have all Fates Stalker. It's 3 and a white for a 2/3 assassin. When it enters the battlefield, you exile up to one target non-assassin creature until it leaves the battlefield. But you can cast it for its warp cost of 1 and a white. This is the first move in the warp mechanic. You may cast this card from your hand for its warp cost, exile this creature at the beginning of the next end step, and then you may cast it from exile on a later turn.
A bit like Adventures that we've seen before.
A bit like Adventures, kind of like an evoke cost, except you get
like
to play
an
it from
evoke
exile.
and adventure kind of mixed, maybe. Yeah, it's interesting way to look at it.
And it's a card that doesn't really excite me except for how it interacts with Haliya, which is already one of the better decks in the format. Haliya, for clarification, 2 mana flash, 2/2 dog. When it attacks, you get to flicker another non-land permanent. Not flicker, sorry. You exile it and return it at end step. And then if you flicker something, or if you exile something you control, Haliya gets a +1/+1 counter.
Yep.
So a bit like how the impending mechanic worked with Haliya, you get to play it for its reduced cost, get the ETB value, attack with Haliya, you exile it, and when it returns, the game kind of forgets that it was warped, so you just get to keep the body.
Yeah, you negate the downside of it, don't you? And you get the 1/1, so this is like a 2 mana, 3/4 sort of Fiend Hunter, I would call it.
Exactly.
Banisher Priest type effect.
Now obviously when you play it the first time for its warp cost, you don't want to get rid of something your opponent controls, because you're going to attack, it's going to leave and it's going to return straight away. But the way I see this working is Haliya is already playing cards with good ETB effects, so you play this for 2, exile one of your own creatures, move to combat, attack with Haliya, all Fates Stalker leaves, you get your ETB of the other creature again.
Interesting.
And then this will return an end step, and then you'll Fiend Hunter one of your opponent's creatures.
And it's up to 1, so you don't have to.
And you don't have to target if you don't want to.
And it's interesting that you can target your own creatures, because often cards nowadays are like opponent controls and whatnot.
Yes.
So that seems really good for Haliya.
And there's a lot of warp cards, so there's a couple more coming up as well. But yeah, the mechanic just seems good with Haliya, a bit like how Bending does.
Oh yes, Cosmogrand Zenith is our next card. 2 and a white for a human soldier, 2/4. When you cast your second spell each turn, you choose one of the following. Either create a 2/2 1/1 white human soldier tokens, or put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. This seems very strong, like Corey Steelcutter, on steroids, as the cliche goes. Yes.
It just feels like a generically good white card.
I can see why you'd put it with Arabella as well, because it just creates like 3 bodies that trigger Arabella, and it's gross. And it's nice because we've talked about it before, I like things that follow a curve naturally. It naturally is something you can play after Arabella. And I'm sure, I haven't played Arabella myself, but I'm sure they play a good number of the free spells that are available in the format.
I wouldn't be surprised if this card did end up seeing play in other places, but I feel like it's almost like an auto-include in Arabella. If it stays for 2 turns, it's created 5 bodies. That's 5 damage of Arabella, 10-point life swing. I just think this, it seems like a very powerful card.
Absolutely.
Very good in Arabella. So the next card we're talking about is another one of those warp cards. This one's called Exalted Sunborn. 5 mana for a 4/5 with flying and lifelink. If 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many tokens are created instead, and it's got warp for 1 and a white. I think for the most part the token effect is kind of flavor texty, but it's not irrelevant. Haliya does play like Blade Splicer, Toby effect.
So what is it? What you're excited about this card then? If the
2 mana 4/5 flying lifelink seems quite strong.
Right. Okay. So it's cheating on that warp cost.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the token effect will come up sometimes.
Of course.
But it's not why you're running it. You're running it because it's a 2 mana 4/5.
Interesting. We've got Haliya, I'm going to say, Guided by Light, 2 and a white for a 3/3 human soldier. When this or another creature or artifact you control enters game 1 life, and at the beginning of the end step, draw a card if you gain 3 or more life this turn, and warp is just a single white mana.
Yep.
Haliya again.
Haliya again.
So does this work the way you want it to work, where this comes in, you gain life, then you flicker it with Haliya and you gain another life, and if you gain a life somewhere else, you draw a card, or is it the wrong timing?
It says at the beginning of your end step, draw a card, and Haliya returns at the beginning of the end step. So it won't trigger that turn,
So are you feeling like this is also more of a flavor text? You're getting a 1 mana 3/3.
You're getting a 1 mana 3/3, but also again, this is a flicker deck. I feel like the life gain is going to be relevant. It's going to add up over time.
Sure.
And I feel like it's not impossible for you to be gaining free life and drawing a card.
Yep.
Maybe not super consistently, but I feel like it will come up enough that it'll be relevant.
Cool.
Yeah, again, none of these warp cards we've mentioned, I think, will see play outside of Thalia, unless there was like another flicker deck.
Effect,
maybe like Anamatu would want them.
Maybe.
But I feel like they're particularly strong with Thalia because they all curve out quite aggressively with Thalia.
Yeah, nice.
So the next card we're talking about is not for Thalia.
No.
This card is Hardlight Containment. It's an enchantment aura for 1 white that enchants an artifact you control. When it enters, you exile target creature an opponent controls until this aura leaves the battlefield, and it gives enchanted permanent ward 1.
So this is chained to the rocks.
For artifacts.
Chained to the artifacts.
And also giving that artifact a small amount of protection.
Yeah, it's nice. They did the same thing almost at Sheltered by Ghosts and whatnot. Just
Yes.
that little Ward 1, especially in a format like Duel Commander, which is quite lean, quite close to the ground.
Yeah.
Ward 1 is quite a steep cost.
It's a very
to pay.
I feel like it's a very mana efficient format normally.
Yes,
So again, this is a
yes,
1
that's
mana
a better way
removal
of putting
spell
it.
that then taxes your opponent for 1.
Yes.
Notably, this aura doesn't have ward itself, so they could just remove the aura
Right,
without paying the
okay.
ward cost. But also enchantments, I feel like are one of the harder
But if
types
they're going
to remove.
after the artifact it's enchanted, then
Yes,
they have to pay the
yeah.
extra ward. That's good.
So I feel like, particularly I put this here because Cloud has ended up being one of the best decks in the format.
Right.
We didn't really predict how strong it was going to be. We mentioned it.
We
in
mentioned
our
it
set
though,
review.
yeah.
But it's. I mean, I think Cloud's a good card. And
So you're thinking of putting this on one of the equipment. So I suppose Cloud always gets you an artifact, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
I think Cloud decks run
Fine.
a high density of artifacts, and this is an efficient removal spell in an artifact heavy white deck. The first one that came to mind was Cloud.
Nice. Lightstall Inquisitor. Oh yeah, this one looks good. 1 mana, poor Savannah Lions. A single white mana for a 2/1 Angel Wizard. Interesting creature type. Vigilance. And then when this creature enters, each opponent exiles a card from their hand, and they may play that card for as long as it remains in exile, and it costs 1 more to cast. So it's a bit like the...
Or if it's a land, it enters tapped.
Oh,
Yeah.
Played this way into tapped, right. What was the card that was an invitational card for Paolo Vita Damarosa? It's a 3/1 flash flying...
Oh, the bird? No. I'm
Anyway,
confused.
we'll try to remember it.
Yeah,
It's,
I'll put an image up on screen.
That one you got to pick a card, but
Yes.
it's 3 mana. This, I just like the fact that it makes one of your opponent's spells cost 1 more,
Yeah.
effectively.
Yes.
It's 2 mana, 2/1. You put it in failure,
1
but
mana,
this
2/1.
1 mana, 2/1.
Yeah.
It would go in any aggressive white deck, I would have thought, because it's just that little slice of disruption.
Yes.
A 2/1 vigilance, 2/1 vigilance is also like a decent stat line as well. Like when you're being aggressive, being able to hold back, it helps with racing.
Yes,
and things.
100%.
So I think, Arabella, Felia, anything aggressive and white, I can imagine this as being quite a staple of
Yeah,
decks like that.
What I like with Thalia is you can play this on 1, flash in Thalia on 2, and then in there instead. And then when you're attacking on turn 3, you
Nice,
can
you
flicker it
tax 2 of their
immediately.
cards, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Nice.
it's abusable in Thalia, but as you've said, I just think the card, even without abusing it, is just a good card in a white deck.
An aggressive white deck.
An aggressive white
I
deck,
wouldn't
yes,
play it
thank
in
you.
like a controlling white deck personally.
Yeah, of course.
Your one.
Yeah, so the next card we're talking about is called Reroute Systems. It's 1 white, it's choose 1, instant target artifact or creature gains indestructible till end of turn, or deal 2 damage to target tapped creature. I'm not the most excited about this card, but it seems versatile. So I'm thinking...
The 2 effects are totally different, which is
Yes.
great. I think that really is really good, yeah.
So I mean, like decks like Lightballs already run lots of 1 mana protection spells. This is more versatile than a 1 mana protection spell because it can be aggressive. I feel like 2 damage to a tapped creature isn't nothing. There's a lot of elves in this format. We have especially in our meta, a lot of aggro
Fine.
decks. So I feel like that damage, that shock will be relevant. But the main drawback I'm seeing is that the protection here just gives indestructible.
Which doesn't protect you from everything.
Yeah, I really like hexproof and indestructible because it's almost always safe.
Aggressive is interesting because I think we talked about it before, things that destroy tapped creatures don't tend to play that well in aggressive decks because if you're being aggressive, your opponent probably doesn't have 2 tapped creatures. It's almost like more controlling and you've got the ability to protect your person or, as you say, disrupt your opponent's game plan, which I think is really... You're going to give this a go, right, when it comes out?
I'm thinking. I think I'll probably try putting it in Lightpaws. The not giving hexproof. It feels like a massive downside. There's a lot of exile based removal.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, like when I mentioned aggressive, I meant like when I'm playing against a Kellen, this will almost always have a target.
Nice.
When I'm playing against there's a lot of decks seem to be running elves, and it's not 1 damage, it's 2 damage, so it even gets the lighted halflings and stuff.
Yeah, nice. Excellent.
Deck.
Seam Rip, which is, as you've already put on screen, it's an enchantment version of Portable Hull. This is good. This is 1 mana to exile an online permanent that's CMC 2 or less, so you can trade up. Yeah. It can hit a wide variety of different targets. Is there any particular advantage to it being an enchantment over an artifact that you can think of?
I feel like enchantments are harder to remove.
That's a good reason.
I feel like, especially for red decks, you've got like braids and stuff going around that destroy artifacts. I don't feel like enchantments are as heavily removed.
So you think you're safer putting something under this than you would do under a Portable Hull?
I think so. I think most of the time at the very least.
Cool.
And also I think that there are decks that are already playing Portable Hull. I feel like, I don't know if you want both of these effects or if this replaces Portable Hull, but...
Because Portable Hull feels to me like it comes after the one that you pay white X.
Prismatic Ending?
You always remember the card names. Yes, I think Prismatic Ending, I think, is a little bit above this.
Yeah. And
then maybe you play Portable Hull. But you think this is a sort of slight upgrade to Portable Hull?
I think it's slightly better than Portable. I think being an enchantment is better than being an artifact.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, Starfield Shepherd is our next warp creature. This one's 5 mana for a 3/2 flyer. When it enters, you tutor for a basic plains or a creature with mana value 1 or less, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Or you can warp it for 1 and a white. So again, you're going to be playing this 2 mana 3/2, tutoring, flicker with Haliya, get another one. So it's a 2 mana creature that draws you 2 cards. Drawing 2 planes wouldn't be that exciting, but the fact that you can get creatures of mana value 1 or less, like there's a lot of good 1 mana white creatures.
Do you think that's got any value on its own without Haliya? Like that ability to tutor either a land or a spell?
Possibly. I'm trying to think what decks would be that excited for. I mean, maybe in Light Balls to tutor a Mother of Runes, but it just feels a bit too slow.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, possibly.
Seems really good for uncommon. Yeah,
it seems good for uncommon. It seems very good in Haliya because you're going to get that draw too.
That's great.
Yes, and good targets: Esper Sentinel, Mother of Runes, Ocelot Pride. There's loads of good.
There's
a lot of good one drops.
Yes. Oh, a good one for me. Consult the star charts. We'll read it first. So it's an instant speed. It has kicker for 1 and a blue.
Its casting cost is also 1 and a blue.
Its casting, maybe I skipped that bit, yeah. So you look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of lands you control, then you put 1 of those cards into your hand, and if the spell was kicked, you put 2 of those cards in your hand instead, and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. To me, this initially looked like the one with flashback.
Memory Deluge?
So good, yes. Looked like kind of like a Memory Deluge, and maybe not as good as Memory Deluge because the flashback is a bit of value. You can discard it for value, and you can get 2 bites of the cherry. But I can see why people are excited by this. I think the 1 and a blue mode doesn't seem very good if you're going to play on the first couple of turns of the game. It's worse Anticipate, and that doesn't see any play.
But I think it's worth mentioning.
Or Impulse, I guess even.
Its versatility though.
I wonder if you're really...
You could cast it early if you had nothing else to do and you were desperate to dig for something.
That's fair. That's fair.
But it's better to have it this way than have it just cost 4 mana.
I agree.
If that makes sense.
I agree. Whether the ability at 4 mana is good, so look at look at 4, 5, 6 maybe cards and put 2 in your hand. I can see you compare it to Stock Up.
I've seen a lot of people online. The comparison going around online, people are talking about how it compares to Stock Up. Is it better? Is it worse?
Yeah. Well, I think usually tacking 1 mana onto a sorcery to make it an instant is usually a good rate.
Yep.
So, yeah, it could be. I would try it in.
I would try
it in my Teema Lupti deck probably. Yeah. I would try it in Vivi that I've been playing. Yeah.
I think the card's...
I think it's worth trying.
Yeah, definitely worth trying. I think
it could end up being the best card in the format. Who knows?
But Stock Up is a card that didn't really excite me that much when it came out. And then now that I've seen it being played, I understand why it's so powerful. And it's possible this is a similar thing.
Absolutely.
So the next card we're talking about is Scour for Scrap. It's a 4 mana instant, 3 and a blue. Choose one or both. Search your library for an artifact card, put it into your hand, then shuffle, or return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. I've put it right next to Kinnan here.
Yeah,
you play Kinnan if you want to talk about it.
I did play a little bit of Kinnan, and yeah, you're thinking of Basalt Monolith as a way to get it back if it gets blown up, and tutor for it. And we're just saying about adding 1 mana on. So this would be Fabricate as an instant speed that costs 1 less, costs 1 more. But the fact that you can get 2, it can be a 2 for 1.
Yeah.
is good. Yeah, I think that this would make sense in Kinnan. I don't know if it would make sense in anything else.
I mean, if Josh plays a lot of like combo decks with artifacts, I'm sure he'd put it in one of his decks.
You're right. You want it to get a specific combo piece. You wouldn't play this if there was like a generic artifact.
No,
themed
it's
deck.
a combo. It's a combo
card. Yeah.
I also think it's worth noting. I think this card's quite good, especially for Kinnan. I think it'd be good without the both. The tutor or return from graveyard. Because if Basalt Monolith goes to the graveyard, being able to get it back is so crucial to your game plan.
Elegy Acolyte?
Yeah.
2 black for a creature, human cleric. It's a 4/4 with lifelink. And whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card and lose a life. And it has a void mechanic, which I don't think we've talked about yet.
No.
This is a mechanic that's like a fixed revolt. If a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, you get the void effect, which in this case is at the beginning of your end step, you make a 2/2 colourless robot. Artifact creature. I think I covered most of it. But I think the reason this is in here, again, I don't know if this has a home, but there's just so many lines of text on this card.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that it gives all of your creatures like an Ophidian style effect. I mean, you only get to draw one card regardless of how many hit, but it doesn't seem that difficult to a situation where you play this on 4 and attack in, and then you can draw a card or force your opponent to block that maybe they wouldn't have wanted to block otherwise. And then if they do block, so you don't draw a card and there's a trade on either side, because it's not you control, it's a non-land permanent either player controls. So I can see that when you play this, you're probably going to either draw a card or make a 2/2.
Yeah.
And that effect is continuous while this is in play. You know, you can do this turn after turn.
It's a creature that does something the turn it hits the board, which is important. It's not a 4 mana do nothing until your next turn.
I mean, technically, if your opponent has mana up, you could play it and they could kill it before you get a combat, and then you might not get anything. But you can say that about a lot of cards that still see play now.
It's relevant the turn it enters.
Yes.
I think, as you said with the Void, the thing that I want to talk about is like Void isn't just like strictly worse Revolt. I think it is worse because Revolt is so good because you play a fetch land and you crack it and you've triggered a Revolt. But the fact that that Void cares about any non-land permanent, including your opponents, I think it means it's not as bad as if it was just you controlled.
And as is the first one we're talking about, Void is great with treasures.
Yes.
So while it doesn't have that synergy with lands, I think anything that can put treasures, particularly if you've got a commander that can make treasures somehow, the Void cards are going to be powered up.
If you've made a treasure on turn 1 or 2, you can play this on turn 3 using the treasure, and you instantly triggered Void immediately.
You will get the robot regardless of what happens in combat. Yeah. Awesome.
Nice. So the next card we're talking about is Rust Harvester. It's 1 red for an artifact creature robot. It's a 1/1 with menace. Pay 2 mana, tap, exile an artifact card from your graveyard, put +1 counter on this creature, then it deals damage equal to its power to any target. Again, sometimes you talk about cards you don't necessarily think will see play, but this is very comparable to Grim Lavamancer, which is 1 mana 1/1 with pay red, tap, exile 2 cards from your graveyard to deal 2 damage to any target. Notably, as a creature, this one is got menace, so it's better in combat. But you're mainly running these cards for their abilities.
Yeah, Grim was never really played to attack and block. Things are going wrong if you're attacking and blocking with Grim Lavamancer.
But the pay red, exile 2 cards, deal 2 damage is proven to be quite strong. The repeatable shock ability.
Yes.
It's exile 1 card, it has to be an artifact, and you have to pay 2 mana, but the amount of damage it does scales. So it will first do 2 damage like Grim, then it's going to become 3, 4, 5 in theory.
It's the 2 mana that worries me on it. And I hadn't, first read, hadn't realised it has to specifically be an artifact card as well. It doesn't feel like you're going to be... I can see the scaling. Yeah. See, once you... But and also, the fact that it does 2 the first time, doesn't do 1 the first time, that's really good.
The other thing with the scaling is that if this creature's power grows in any other way, then it's also going to scale. Yes. So if you have other ways to put counters on it, when you exile 1, you could potentially do the 5 the first time.
Yes.
I feel like even though they look very similar to Grim Lavamancer, I think they're very different cards. They'd be played in very different ways. I feel like if I was to be trying to run this card, I'd want to be doing so in a deck that happened to have counter synergy, so that it's already going to be doing more than 2 the first time I activate it.
Fine.
So is there a home for this? You need to be playing a high density of artifacts, or not a high enough density that you're going to have a target to exile. Yeah. And hopefully you'd want it to be in a deck that's also going to be growing its power, as opposed to just doing it itself.
Is there like an artifact deck in the format? There isn't really, I don't think.
Cloud, but that's white.
Yeah, that's the closest thing I can think of. Deck,
yeah, Kinnan, but that's red-green.
Again, that's more of a combo deck. I mean, like an affinity style.
I mean,
because they keep printing cards that like would make an affinity style deck
Decks seem
good.
I mean, that's the thing is that obviously Duel Commander is a competitive format, but not everyone's playing at the highest tournament power level.
Certainly not at Aldershot. No.
One of our regulars, Josh, is always trying to build affinity decks.
Yeah.
Not necessarily decks you'll see in MTG top 8, but he builds some really cool brews. And they tend to be affinity focused. He has a Ragost affinity deck, so perhaps this could be a home for that card.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
Baloth Prime or Baloth Prime.
I think Baloth.
Baloth sounds, okay. 3 and a green for a beast. That's a 10/10. It's big stats for 4 mana. But the creature enters tap with 6 stun counters on it.
Quite a lot.
That's a lot. However, whenever you sacrifice a land, you create a tapped 4/4 beast creature token, and then you untap this creature, which would have the effect of removing one of the stun counters. You can also pay 4 mana, sacrifice a land to gain 2 life, which would obviously then trigger the ability that comes before it. My first thought was that this is a souped up Titania. I know you don't get a card back,
Sure,
but it's 4 mana instead of 5, which I think is, in Magic, especially in a more competitive format, that's like an exponential difference when you get to mana curves. 4/4s are beefy, they're big. You know, 5/3s in some ways a little bit more vulnerable. There's more things that can take out a 5/3 than they can deal with a 4/4.
Sure, that extra point of toughness is maybe more relevant than the extra point of power.
Yes. I don't know what home this has.
And the only deck I can think of is Lazusa, right?
Well, yes. Actually, it's a kind of I was thinking more Tifa in a way.
Okay.
Because the Tifa deck that we see on a Friday, you know, Tom is trying to play as many fetchy lands. You know, even in mono-color deck, there's actually quite a lot of fetch style lands, and then that's what you want to do. You want to sacrifice lands. So if you're playing all your Evolving Wilds and your all that, even the sort of weaker ones, they're all making you 4/4s. It feels like a backup plan for a deck that's naturally doing a lot of landfall.
One of the weaknesses that Tom has been finding with Tifa is just that lack of alternate win condition.
Yes.
So he's trying to
she
try
is
it
quite fragile.
She's very fragile. If she gets there's not much you can do about counters. Basically anything. I mean, Tifa or Azusa are 2 homes. Tom, I believe, already is playing Titania and Azusa.
Yeah.
The only thing I was thinking is with Azusa, as you mentioned, 4 versus 5, whereas I feel like in Azusa, you're going to be playing Azusa turn 3 and having 5 mana anyway, the next turn.
Right, yes.
I feel like getting the land back to get that trigger is really good.
Yeah.
The fact these makes tapped 4/4s means it's going to take it's not going to do not going to do that much.
No, I know, but they're still 4/4s. They're still 4/4,
and also I guess the like mana sink of pay 4 mana, sacrifice a land.
You gain 2 life. It's not nothing. Like you said on the card before, it doesn't make the card worse.
And I can see in an Azusa deck that doesn't really have much like pure card advantage, but does just dump lands. There could be turns where Tom is passing and in your end step, pay 4, sacrifice a land, make a 4/4 that's tapped, but then it's going to untap and can attack.
Yeah. I just don't know if Azusa currently plays all of the sort of weaker fetches in order to hit.
It has extra land drops and it has crucible effects.
Land drops don't help this card though. It's when you sacrifice a land.
Extra land drops with crucible effects.
Oh, so the sacrifice a land gain 2 life. Yeah. Make a 4/4, 4 mana, make a 4/4. Yeah, it gains 2 life as a repeatable effect.
Or even just playing a fetch land, crucible evolves, bring it back, crack it, play it, crack it. So for all 3 of your Azusa drops. So the next card we're talking about is Famished Worldsire, which is an 8 mana, 5 and 3 green, creature Leviathan with ward free, devour land free. So devour is an old mechanic, but worth going over what it does. As it enters, you may sacrifice any number of lands. It enters with 3 times that many +1/+1 counters. And when it enters, you look at the top X cards of your library, where X is this creature's power. Put any number of land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So assuming you have 8 lands, you play this on turn 8. Sacrifice.
It's like Scapeshift.
Yeah.
It's like a creature Scapeshift.
It's like a creature Scapeshift.
That will be enormous.
Which is a banned card.
Is it
banned? I believe,
that.
It's banned in the format. So I feel like I put Azusa there. Scapeshift is on screen with the word banned on it right now. I put Azusa down because I feel like if Azusa could run Scapeshift, it would.
Yeah.
It's a green land combo deck. This isn't as good as Scapeshift because you don't tutor for the lands.
No.
But you get to look at 3 times the number of cards you've sacrificed lands, and Azusa's land density is so high, I think you're going to get that many lands back. Or more lands, possibly.
But then I'm thinking if Scapeshift is banned, particularly outside of Azusa, then could this be a Valakut deck? Is there, that a Valakut deck I presume doesn't exist at the moment.
I think the reason...
There must be a ton of commanders that are red-green that care about lands, like legendaries that care about lands out there.
The reason that particularly like cards like this, which we always joke about, just another card for Azusa when we're doing set reviews.
I'll just chuck it on the pile, yes.
It's just because it's 8 mana. That's a lot, but for Azusa decks that's achievable, whereas for other decks it doesn't feel as achievable.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see you playing this, sacrificing all the lands you have in play, probably just getting them all back again because the deck runs like 50% lands, and just ending up with an enormous, Ward 3 creature. Yeah, I guess is that good? I mean,
in Azusa?
Yeah.
Possibly. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm mainly thinking about its synergy of like landfall cards.
Be good with the card we saw previously, because you'd sacrifice like 6 lands and make 6.
Yes, that's true. There you go. Yeah. Another argument for the Baloth.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how. I mean, Azusa plays like landfall cards. This just makes a bunch of Storm tokens or makes a bunch of mana with Lotus Cobra.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how good the effect is. The reason again I want to talk about it is because it's very reminiscent of a card that's banned, and if a card's banned,
I like that, which I think is more exciting outside of Azusa, because I think for there's all sorts of Eldrazi and stuff which are probably more exciting to play if you want expensive creatures with big effects. But I think that this could maybe do something that we don't currently see, which is that's really interesting.
Like a Valakut
in a different kind of deck, yeah.
Okay. Well, something to keep an eye out for.
Cool. This one looks powerful. Frenzied Baloth. Green for a beast. There's a 3/2. Right, let's list off all the words on it. So this spell can't be countered. It has trample. It has haste. Creature spells you control can't be countered, reminiscent of Serac.
Yeah.
And combat damage can't be prevented.
This is I've seen people online say this is like a mini questing beast, and I think that's a fair
comparison.
I can
see why there's a lot happening.
Keyword. It's not just lots of text.
You're always gonna forget one of the things that it does when it's in play.
When it's relevant.
You caught me. I like the last line of text against the Azusa because it stops Glacial Chasm
from
doing anything.
I think this card will be good like when you're playing against the blue deck and they play True Nemesis.
Oh, because yes.
That's how protection works, is it prevents damage. So this gets around that.
So there's that, that skull crack yourself type effect, damage. Anyway, we can cover that in another video.
So again, we're talking about Tifa needing like a bit more stuff going into it, and I feel like making your creature spells uncounterable is massive. Like you want to play Allosaurus Shepherd already, so you just want an abundance of those effects. 2 mana 3/2 trample haste is aggressive.
Very.
And I feel like it's one of those things where in some matchups, a lot of this text won't be relevant. So if you're not playing against blue, the non-counterable thing won't be relevant.
I guess maybe against red, none of it looks terribly relevant.
But a 2 mana 3/2 trample haste isn't like a bad
No.
And the sealing of this is great because it'll be really good against those blue control decks.
Well, do I want this in like a team of mid-range deck? I don't know.
Helps in the control mirror.
It's just and it's like a threat. And so the next card we have is Fungal Colossus, which is 6 and a green for a fungus beast. It's a 5/5.
Yeah.
And the spell costs X less to cast, where X is the number of differently named lands you control.
You said this was your favourite card of the set, right?
It's something like that. I thought it was interesting. I said it was close. I know it's a common. It reminds me of things like Tellerian Terror, and there was another Delve card called Hooting Mandrills that saw a little bit of modern play a long time ago. It's a big statted creature that can cost like 1 or 2 mana.
Yeah.
And I think, like for instance, in the deck that I most like to play, a team of mid-range, there are not that many basic lands in my deck. So almost every land is uniquely named. So I could see this, double spelling on a later turn, and 5/5 is big. I don't think it gets there, but I think it's like dangerously close to getting there.
I mean, the deck I was thinking about possibly like Eshki, which is another team of deck, not the kind of team of deck you like to play, but when it cares so much about creature, non-creature.
Double spelling, yes.
Double spelling in that particular way. And again, a 1 mana 5/5 isn't terrible. I mean, I played Octavia before, which I was basically just playing Tellerian Terror Tribal.
Yes.
I did find that Tellerian Terror effects aren't that good.
They're not, are they?
They didn't feel great.
Shame.
Even the thing I liked about the deck was the high density of it, but I just found it was just better. Like Octavia was good because of the fact that it made my other creatures into 8/8s.
Got it.
Whereas the actual Tellerian Terrors, I was playing basically everyone that I could. Most of the time were just kind of underwhelming bodies.
And I think we find this in like this kind of format is that just a big statted creature isn't generally that exciting.
The other thing I'll say though is that I feel like this effect is so much easier to trigger than like Tolarian Terror, where like you kind of built your entire deck around trying to activate it. Whereas if you're playing a
3 or 4 colour deck,
you're probably going to be doing this without even thinking about it.
Yeah. Icetill Explorer. Oh yeah, this one looks powerful. 2 green for an insect scout. It's a 2/4. You may play additional land on each of your turns, and you may play lands from your graveyard, and has landfall whenever a land you control enters, you mill a card, which fuels the previous ability. So this is very reminiscent of there's a 4 mana 2/2 that lets you play lands from the top of your library and play additional land. Oracle of Muldiah.
Yes.
Poor Oracle of Muldiah has been power crept out of the format. I mean, she wasn't really seeing much play already in this kind of format, but this is a way more powerful version. I think being able to play lands from your graveyard is way more powerful on the top of your library because of things like fetch lands, which you're going to play as many of you can of. The mill helps you dig and just put more lands in your graveyard. This one looks super powerful.
And again, I'm mainly thinking about Azusa. Azusa plays basically every Crucible of Realm effect, I think, and I think this is probably more powerful than the artifact, the 4 mana 2 and a green artifact, where you can Crucible of World, but you can tap it to cast something from the graveyard, but then you can't cast anything else.
I guess this is a body, which is very relevant.
Also gives, and also if this is a Crucible effect stapled onto an additional land each turn.
Yes. I think this is probably good in any green deck that's trying to ramp.
Yeah.
Not just an Azusa deck. Personally, I think this is very strong.
And I guess also, would you play this in like your team or mid-range deck?
I don't think I would, because I'm not trying to ramp. I cap out at like 5 mana, or 6, I guess, technically, loot plus the ability to activate. So yeah, no, I'm firmly mid-range. I think if you're going big, if you're trying to power out
perhaps
things like
in this
Eldrazi
new
and
Valakut
stuff.
deck you're talking about.
We'll make it happen.
We'll make it happen.
Cosmogoyf, another Goyf. This one's green-black for a Tarmogoyf effect, which is star and star +1, where star is in this case, it's the number of cards that you own in exile. Yeah. So it's the number of cards you own in exile power and the number of cards you own in exile +1 toughness. So it is one of the newer types of Goyfs that only care about your graveyard, as opposed to our traditional Tarmogoyf. Is this you've put this alongside Hogak?
Yeah, so I've put some stuff on the side. So this Cosmogoyf takes more work than Tarmogoyf. One of the things about Tarmogoyf is it just kind of rewarded you for playing Magic, or your opponent playing Magic.
Yes.
This Cosmogoyf has a higher ceiling than Tarmogoyf does. Tarmogoyf is capped at the number of turn points.
I suppose, yeah, you could. Oh, Inverter of Truth.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, it's
Make it happen.
too cute, but
it's too cute. But no, but I put Hogak here because it seems quite strong with Hogak, because Hogak exiles a lot of cards. I think the downside is also it can't be blown out as like Tarmogoyf can, whereas Tarmogoyf becomes an 0/1 when the graveyards are exiled.
Actually, that's better.
This is actually better for this Cosmogoyf.
Yeah.
It also cares about number of cards. It doesn't care about creature cards. It doesn't care about card types. It's just the pure density of cards in exile.
Yeah. I wonder if like an Abzan-y style shell would like this, because Abzan effects tend to have like exile graveyard, exile creatures. I don't know.
I wonder how much work are you willing to put into this. It doesn't have any keywords. It's just a big body, and we've said before big bodies aren't great before.
No, because efficient removal exists. So yeah.
But with Hogak being unbanned recently, I just think if there's a deck that's really trying to abuse Hogak and make Hogak work a bunch, this kind of will just be really massive.
Yeah.
Alongside that game plan, I don't think you'd ever want to run Cosmogoyf purely for Cosmogoyf.
No.
But if you ended up building a deck that for some reason was delving a lot or exiling your own cards a lot anyway, it just kind of naturally goes in quite well.
There's a Reanimator that sees a little bit of play. Is it Winter?
Yes.
That one is exile card. You exile cards to reanimate stuff.
If you have Delirium, you can exile 4 card types, I believe, is how it works.
Yeah, you exile cards from your graveyard, and if you have Delirium, one of the exile cards, if it's a creature, comes into play. Yes. So you end up exiling cards as part of the commander. And again, we sort of talked about this a lot, where you've got these kind of narrow mechanics. If they synergize with your commander, they're not more powerful. So it could be a good, like, solid body to play in a deck like that. That's
one of the things I really like about this format in particular, is just unique cards that work with commanders.
Yes. Dyadrine.
Yeah.
Yep. Synthesis Amalgam. I don't like that. That's too many words. It's X green-white for a legendary artifact creature construct. Starts off as a 0/1, has trample, and it enters with a number of 1/1 counters equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. So, interesting, the X isn't complete. If you just pay green-white, you get 2 counters.
You can pay whatever you want to.
And then the X is just extra.
Also with command attacks, if you cast this for
does that
4
count
mana,
as mana
you get 4.
spent
Yes,
to cast it?
yes.
Interesting.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
like a kicker type thing.
No.
Okay.
So it kind of, it doesn't cheat command attacks, but
No.
it kind of grows with your command attacks.
Yeah,
which is
no,
interesting. There is another Naya commander that does a similar thing already.
I think I remember it, yeah. And when you attack, you may remove a 1/1 counter from each of up to 2 creatures you control. And if you do, you make a 2/2 robot, a 2/2.
And you draw a
artifact
card.
2/2. And draw a card,
Yeah.
wow. So you're always, presumably, always going to have artifact 1/1 counters on this.
Yep.
So you just need to have other stuff going on.
Also, it's not when this attacks, it's when you attack. So you can play
That
it,
effect
and
is
then that
always so much
turn you
better,
attack
yeah.
something else.
And green-white is the home of 1/1 counters.
Yeah.
There's loads of modular creatures, and you've got various. What's the effect that if you add a 1/1 counter, you add one
Hardened
more?
scale, less
Thank
effects.
you. Those types of effects in these colours. So this is a deck that doesn't exist, but this might be a new deck.
Yeah, I feel like this could be an interesting commander. I don't necessarily think it's going to be the best deck ever built, but I could see it being a deck someone builds. And I feel like it's kind of deck some people could really love.
I think the only thing
Because
I
I think
think
it's
about
niche. I don't think
it's
there are any
niche. I
like
think the only thing I
hard-scale
worry
decks.
about green-white is the inability of those colours to interact too much with combo-y stuff.
Sure.
I mean, you can have taxi pieces in white, but it just feels
Taxi
like
pieces, sorry.
like things that
tax,
Haliya,
yes,
like taxing your opponent to stop combo-y type stuff going
Yeah.
on. Maybe I just don't like green-white that much. It
Sure.
seems like an interesting card.
I mean, no, that's true. We'll see what happens. The next card we're talking about is Hearthhull the Worldseed. This is 4 mana, 1 black, red, green for a legendary artifact spacecraft. This is the first spacecraft you've spoken about. So it enters and it does nothing. It just kind of sits there as a permanent. But it has an ability called Station. So you can tap another creature to put charge counters onto this spacecraft equal to that creature's power. So in this case, it has 2 abilities. When it has 2 or more charge counters, it gains the ability to pay 1, tap, sacrifice a land, draw 2 cards, replenish the land this turn, notably at instant speed. And when it has 8 or more charge counters, it's a flying, vigilant, haste, 6/7. That says whenever you sacrifice a land, each opponent loses 2 life.
So I think a really important thing is that Station is sorcery speed.
Yes.
I think that's that, and since this is the first time we've talked about stationing, I think that's a big problem for this mechanic, because I love to play decks that are full of initiative and monarch cards, and I think tapping your creatures down at sorcery speed in a format where people are playing those kind of emblem creatures is not good, because you need your creatures to either protect your emblem or contest your opponent controlling the emblem. So that's where I think that in our format, these station effects might not be great.
One of the things I like this card because I feel like the 2+ is a good effect.
It's cheap enough that you can just
it doesn't really
play this
much.
and then immediately crew it to get to the 2+ counters.
But also, if you immediately tap 8 powers worth of creatures, you still have this 6/7 with vigilance, so you can swing in,
and it's got haste,
and then you can stay back to block. And then in their end step, you can activate the ability, sack a land, hit them for 2,
8
draw 2
power in
cards.
on turn by turn 4. Like
you might not play this.
Yeah, no, I know.
You don't necessarily have to play your commander the turn it's mana costs.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Especially as it has a tap ability that costs 1 mana, you might kind of think of it as a pseudo 5-drop.
I'm just not. I think Jund Lands is a deck. There's a Planeswalker cat. Lord Windgrace is a kind of very popular casual commander deck. Jund Lands is a good archetype. There's a lot of good cards for it.
That could be where our Valakut deck.
This could be our Valakut deck. And whenever you sacrifice a land, it gives a win condition for that Devour Lands card.
Yep.
So this is the Valakut deck. We found it. No, but I just think Jund Lands is a good archetype. Yep. I don't think that I've seen people playing it in this format. I feel like this might be okay.
Yes. Another spacecraft, we've got Inspirit Flagship Vessel. This one is Jeskai, so blue, red, white for a, it's not a 5/5, it has station.
Yeah.
+1/+ at the beginning of combat on your turn, but your choice of 1/1 counter or 2 charge counters on up to 1 target artifact. And then if it has 8+, it becomes a 5/5 flyer, and other artifacts you control have hexproof and indestructible. So this could be the commander for this theoretical, what did we say earlier? Artifact deck.
Yes, potentially.
You have a particular thought there.
This is probably way too cute, but There's a lot of cards that care about charge counters in a really interesting way, which is this is what I like.
So you're thinking about it with the charge counter,
with the charge counters,
not the fact it's an artifact or anything else.
Our format mocks the Jeweled Amulet, 0 mana. You pay a mana to put a charge counter on it.
Interesting.
So this turns this into like a tree mock, so you keep ticking it up.
Right.
You have Everflowing Chalice, which is XX, enters with X counters, so you pay 2, you get 1. This turns it into 3 mana. There's a couple of mana rocks like that. This grows. So this could be a Jeskai big deck where you kind of take advantage of all those artifacts with charge counters. And then my favourite thing this does, my favourite interaction, is there's a card called Magistrate Scepter, which is I've played this a lot in Casual Commander.
Right.
If you can, it's a 3 mana artifact. Pay 4, tap, put a charge counter on it. Tap, remove 3 charge counters, taking an extra turn after this one.
Wow.
You have to play a lot of proliferate effects to make this work normally, but this puts
This is fronting you 2 of the 3 straight away.
If you can get Inspirit and one other proliferate effect, like a permanent that proliferates every turn, that's infinite turns. Infinite turns, and that's a good number of turns to take.
That's usually a good way to finish the game.
Yeah, because you get to do so much with infinite turns. So I mean, I think this is possibly too cute, but I think it's potential there.
It's a good find. Yeah, I like that.
So the next card we're talking about is Sir Vondam, Sunstar Exemplar, white and a black for a 2/2. Legendary creature human knight with Vigilance Menace. Whenever another creature you control dies or is put into exile, you put a counter on Sir Vondam and you gain 1 life. And when Sir Vondam dies or is put into exile, while its power is 4 or greater, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent.
Sweet.
I'm not sure if this is good enough to be a commander. I'm not sure what home this would go into. It just feels like a generically good card.
Would it work in the god of this colour?
Ketramos. Possibly. I mean, I feel like Ketramos is normally exiling your opponent's creatures and your cards from your graveyard, which doesn't trigger this. I feel like it's better in like a aristocrat style deck.
Yes.
Because you're going to be growing this to make a good attacker because it's got menace, and a good blocker because it's got vigilance.
Yes.
And then eventually you can cash this in. Power 4 or greater is only 2 other creatures dying first.
Exactly, yes.
So it's not hard to get
But it's you control, it's not like a blood artist. I feel like this probably wouldn't be good enough as a commander, but it would fit the style of deck you're talking about.
Yeah, into an aristocrat
It'd be a good inclusion in that kind of deck.
You only need to sacrifice 2 other things to make it so that this cashes in to destroy anything.
Yes.
So I feel like it's a good attacker and blocker, and then when you need to, it's very easy to cash it in and blow up anything you need to.
Okay.
So that's what I'm thinking.
Also, before we move on, have we seen that title Sir outside of Eldraine? Is this an Eldraine creature, character?
Oh, that's a really good question that I don't know the answer to, but that is worth. I'll look into that before this and kind of post the answer on screen.
Sweet. So Ragost, Deft, Gastronaught. The internet's excited about this because it's a legendary lobster. Anyway, so it's Boros for a lobster citizen legendary 2/2. 2 mana for a 2/2, fine. Artifacts you control are foods in addition to their other types and have the food ability, pay 2, sacrifice the artifact, tap, sacrifice, get 3 life. Pay 1, tap, sacrifice a food, which, as we know, is any artifact you control. You deal 3 damage to each opponent. So you can turn all of your artifacts into lava spikes. Beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, interesting, untap it. But sacrificing a food to this ability wouldn't gain you life, would it? So you'd have to...
You could sacrifice another artifact for the food ability, so spend 3 mana, then do it again next turn, or you could gain life in any other way.
I think a commander that just has repeatable lightning, what did I call it?
Lava
spiking, does seem good. I mean, this is a 20 life format.
Yep, 100%.
And these are the aggressive colours.
Yes.
It feels like you build your entire deck around it, though, because everything needs to be an artifact, doesn't it, really? Well, not everything, but you need to be able to generate treasures or lots of artifacts in some way and make good out of this. You've mentioned a commander that's close to your heart.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying all these things about this being a commander, but really this is a Boros card. So that means it's probably going to go into General Ferrous Rockrick, which is a commander that I'm going to try building again soon. It's 1 red-white, 3/1, hexproof and monocoloured, which feels like it should be so good, but it didn't do enough for me last time. And whenever you cast a multicoloured spell, you make a 4/4 red and white golem artifact creature token.
I think you.
So it's synergistic with Rockrick in that Rockrick makes artifacts, and this can do stuff with them.
And they're artifacts.
Also, when I've built Rockrick lists before, there was a surprisingly high number of cards that happened to gain life as well.
Right.
So you can trigger that bottom ability, not all the time, but just kind of without even trying. But
if you get a couple of free life gain triggers, that's good.
And you can block with a 4/4, and you could, let's say it's like a non-profitable block, and then before damage you can sacrifice it to bolt.
Yeah, that's good too.
I'm quite, and also it's at the beginning of each end step, if you gain life this turn, untap it. So I could am I correct in saying I could activate this in your turn? It'll untap in my end step, and I can activate it again in your turn.
So you activate it in my turn to shoot me for 3.
Yep, in your main phase, let's say. Then it'll untap in your end step. Can I activate it again in your
Yes,
end
yes.
step?
You get another round of priority.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So you could
Because at the beginning of the end step, so there is still the rest of the end step if you think about it in those kind of terms, and you move to the passing the turn. Yes, you get priority.
So if basically I can find a way to gain life in your turn, and I activate this in my turn, activate it twice in your turn, you can deal 9 damage in 1 round. Which, again, feels quite powerful.
Yeah, it's a big chunk of 20, yeah.
So the next card we're talking about is Anticausal Vestige.
Yep.
It's a 6 mana 7/5. When it leaves the battlefield, draw a card, then you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped.
Right.
And it has Warp 4. So again, we've mentioned this before. You cast it for 4 mana, it'll exile, you can play it from exile. I think this card feels fine if you're playing it. I don't think you want to play this fairly, but again,
No.
Thalia can flicker it. So you'll play it as for 4, attack with Thalia. It'll leave, you'll draw a card, put a CMC 4 or less probably if you've done this in turn 4.
Most of the deck will
play.
be less than that, yeah.
And then you'll just get a 7/5 afterwards.
Sure.
And the other home I'm thinking possibly is like Azusa.
I can see it in Azusa.
Cares about number of lands you have.
Yeah, exactly. And I can see Azusa does play a few big monsters, doesn't it? And being able to cheat them out.
So even if you're
plus something else.
The thing is it doesn't care about the amount of mana you cast it for, which is very often it cares about the number of lands. So if you're warping it in for 4, and you have 10 lands in play, then you just get a 10 mana creature into play, or a 10 powered non-land permanent. Or is it a permanent? So worst case scenario, you can get a land with it. I don't think it's the most busted card we've talked about, but I feel like it could have a couple interesting homes.
Yeah, I can see that too. Yeah. Only Eldrazi in the set as well, interestingly.
Yes, yeah.
Good one for me. Tezzeret, Cruel Captain. I love Tezzeret and artifacts, all awesome. So this is a very power crept Trinket Mage. So it's 3 mana for a Planeswalker that starts on 4 loyalty, and whenever an artifact you control enters, not cast, so if you generate treasure tokens, for instance, you put a loyalty counter on Tezzeret.
And it's not 1 or more artifacts either, so it'll trigger per artifact if you make 3 at a time.
That's good. 0, untap target artifact or creature if it's an artifact creature but a 1/1 counter on it. So this can be used to untap your mana rocks if you're going big or making creatures bigger. So quite versatile ability.
Or you attack with a creature and unblock it.
Give it pseudo vigilance, yeah. And then 3 mana is the Trinket Mage. So search your library for
negative 3 loyalty, even not
3 mana.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Yes,
minus 3. Search your library for an artifact with mana value 1 or less. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. And then the ultimate is 7.
Yep.
You get an emblem with at the beginning of combat on your turn, but 3 1/1 counters on a target artifact you control. And if it's not a creature, it then becomes a 0/0 robot artifact creature. It just does a lot for 3 colorless mana. You liken it to Urza Saga, but in some ways...
The negative 3 is like a Saga-like search.
I was going to say some ways better, because Urza Saga specifically says that the artifact has to cost 0 or 1. So this can get...
Esper Sentinel, for example, because it's a 1 mana, but it's not 1, it's 1 white.
Or you can get that, Astrolabe, which is a snow mana one. So it's much more like...
Trinket Mage, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Not an original thought, but I saw mention that this would be good in a Nardu, sort of secret Nardu deck.
Sure, because it grabs
the equipment, the Shuko.
Yeah, thank you. There you go.
I remember some of the card names. So it looks really powerful. I mean, in any deck that you were considering Trinket Mage, which I did play in my secret Nardu deck, I think this just seems a lot more powerful. It leaves you with this permanent in play.
Yeah.
It's the things you can do with it.
Unlike Trinket Mage, if you don't have anything you want to shoot for because you're already drawn it, it still does other things, whereas Trinket Mage is just dead.
Our pseudo artifact, our non-existent artifact deck is getting better. This would go into that.
One of the things I find interesting though is that normally when you're evaluating Planeswalkers, you don't want to evaluate the ultimate because they're normally hard to achieve. This is probably one of the most easy to achieve ultimates in the game because you just play artifact spam and you could do it the turn you play Tezzeret. But I don't think this ultimate.
I guess you think of things like Opal, rocks. Not Opal, baubles.
Baubles,
yeah.
I feel like
can play.
It's not difficult to get this to 7, but I don't think the emblem is very exciting. I thought the other 2 abilities are just so much more exciting.
They are more exciting. I mean, just waking up non-creature permanents, turning them to creatures, or making your existing creatures bigger. It's not terrible, but yeah, it's not like one of the you win the game on the spot ultimates.
Which is probably good design considering it's quite
how easy it is to
there.
get there. Yeah, good. No, strong card. Looks good.
So next up, we're kind of talking about the whole cycle at once, because I didn't think any of them were particularly good to talk about individually, but it's an interesting design. So these are the planet lands. They all enter tapped. They all tap for one colour. So there's a white one, a blue one, a black one, a red one, a green one.
Mm-hmm.
They all have station, and they turn on at 12+. So you have to tap 12 powers worth of creatures, which is a lot. The white one then says you can pay 4 mana and tap it to copy target artifact or enchantment you control, except it's legendary. The token's legendary. The blue one becomes a Therian Academy, but you have to pay a blue and activate it.
Yeah.
So you get mana for each artifact you control.
Oh. No, pay a blue. Oh, yes, you pay blue. So it's, okay,
it's
fine. All right then.
Yeah.
I mean, Tolarian Academy is one of the most busted cards ever printed, so that kind of makes sense.
I mean, I think it's funny they put the pay a blue drawback as well as the having to tap
the
12 powers worth of creatures.
That's how powerful Tolarian Academy is.
I think it also points to how scared Wizards were of making these too good.
Yeah. It's a lovely throwback, though. Such an iconic card.
The black one, pay 2 mana, tap, pay 2 life, sack a creature to draw cards equal to that creature's power. The red one
is a sorcery only.
As a sorcery.
Sort of relevant. Yep.
And the white one's also as a sorcery. The red one is pay 2 mana, sacrifice a land, create a 2/2 colourless robot artifact token. Then creatures you control get +1/+1 gain haste until end of turn.
Mm-hmm.
And the green one is, again, green plus Gaia's Cradle. You get green for each creature you control.
Which is,
if I had to guess which one's the most powerful, it's the blue or the green one.
I would have thought so.
I still don't think that either of them are good enough.
And I think the blue one's tricky because decks that would probably want Tolarian Academy don't play lots of creatures.
Whereas
I guess you could have like one massive Urza construct.
Yeah, it's not impossible.
And then just like tap it maybe over 2 turns. But the whole point of those kind of land, the green and the blue ones, is the explosive mana that you get out of them, and you're just waiting too long to then get that. You know, you've already had to deploy all of these creatures, and then you get loads of mana. Like it's kind of too late.
The green one's probably more likely to be good in that instance then.
Yeah.
If these lands didn't enter untapped, they'd possibly be good enough.
Yes.
Because they're free, but the fact they enter tapped and they only tap for 1 colour of mana. Yes. I also think it's worth pointing out that red is continuing its tradition of having the worst card in the cycle.
Yeah, sure.
And then the final cards we're talking about.
Oh yeah, so these are nice. So this is completing some cycles. So Wizards said that they were going to, by the end of next year, complete these 2 cycles. So they are fetchable dual lands, which is always awesome. Especially in our format where the fetch lands are legal. There's 2 types. There's the Tango land, which I think Wizards will now canonically call them Tango lands.
Takes 2 to tango.
Takes 2 to tango. So the land enters tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands.
Yeah.
And then the other one is a cycling land.
Yes. So they enter tapped always, but you can pay 2 mana to cycle them.
Yeah, so they're kind of like anyway, as said.
Again, the cycles aren't being completed this set.
No,
they will
sadly
be completed
not.
by 2026.
Because I need the Izzet ones in my life.
Yes. So for both the cycles, Tango and cycling, we're getting a red, white and a black, green one in these precons.
Yeah.
They're also upping the number of non-reprint cards in Commander decks from, I think, 10 to 12, with the last 2 slots being reserved for finishing land cycles or for mana accelerating artifacts.
So anyway,
I do really want to say that I'm happy they're doing this. One of the things that really
it's an interesting place to put them.
Yeah, I'm annoyed by
incomplete
cycles generally. Right. So any way that they can finish off cycles excites me. I think what's his name? Gavin Verhey. Gavin Verhey said that he wants to complete the slow fetches, which won't be relevant in our format, but I still think it's just nice to see cycles being completed. Yeah.
I do think the Tango lands are the more powerful of the 2.
In our format, when you play Tango, what would you say? You need to be playing. I think they're good in 2-colour decks.
They're certainly going to be good in 2-colour decks because you're going to play a bunch of basics.
I don't know about 3-colour.
I would probably play the Izzet one in like my Teamer deck. I know I said earlier about having not that many different lands, but I do run a good chunk of like 4 or 5 islands and then a forest and a mountain, and then if you know you've got them in your deck. If you're playing this, you might be getting basics a little bit more aggressively, or you might slightly up the basic count. I have been feeling recently, and I think we talked about this in other videos, that the all the huge gamut of utility lands
Yes.
just don't end up being all that exciting.
Sure.
This is not a format where I feel like you're dumping a lot of mana into like Surveil at the end of turn.
A bad land, a bit overcosted ability.
Yeah, turn your land into a creature to attack. It
Yeah.
all seems good on paper
Yes.
and have good rates, but I just don't find myself doing this. It's fixing is what you want, and this is good. This is fetchable fixing.
I think this just I'm playing the Rakdos one in Deadpool, and it feels great there because I've so many basics. Looking at a 3-color deck, I'm if you're getting it so that this is entering untapped, then your first fetches you're going to be grabbing basics. When you really want to be grabbing Surveils or Shocks or OG.
No, I get it. I mean, I'm not saying if I was running this in a team, I'd probably run just the one.
Just the one. Yeah. Okay. Because those are your two main colours. Yeah.
It is, but I mean, again, I also love the initiative, which gets you basics.
Yeah, I think that's true.
So I still think I would probably run the Is It one almost
But
certainly.
the other thing I want to say is when you have fetchable lands, you want them to come in untapped on the earlier turns more. But the earlier turns is when having that land untapped is more relevant.
You've got a lot of choice as well. So I mean,
true.
You've got the OG Jewels, you've got Shock lands,
Yes.
you've got Surveil
Yes.
lands. You don't have to go straight for this. This is a later one.
Sure,
But it just
very late,
keeps
yes.
your fetches live because, again, like in 3-color decks or more, or 4-color decks maybe, some of your fetches get a little bit less relevant.
Yes.
Like for me, like any green fetch gets a little bit less relevant later in the game. I've already got like my breeding pool and stuff. So having a little bit more redundancy and your fetches have more options of getting color fixing is good. And if it can come into play untapped, that just is just powerful, even if it's a little bit of a condition.
Okay, so that's all the cards we have to talk about now.
Lovely.
What do you think? What are you most excited about for this set?
Well, after this video, I'm excited for my new Valakut deck.
There you go. Exactly. It seems good. And obviously Fungal Colossus.
I think it's going to be a staple in every green deck. What about you?
I think for me, Haliya is a deck that I've been thinking about for a while. I was mainly Light Paws a while ago, and I've got a lot of the cards that go into Haliya. I already really was a big fan of how it worked with that Impending Overlord, and just seeing how abusable these warp cards are. I love abusing mechanics. It's very fun.
Yeah, it makes you.
And all these warp cards just seem really interesting and fun. And I think White's got a lot of toys this set. Consult the star charts. I think is just going to end up being a blue staple.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of interesting cards here. White's the card I'm most excited about, particularly Haliya. I just feel like the warp mechanic is kind of built for Haliya. And we'll see what else it ends up seeing play. But
fantastic.
Thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope you enjoy Edge of Eternities pre-release when you get to it. So the next card we have is Planetary Annihilation. This is 3 and 2 red for a sorcery that says each player chooses 6 lands they control and sacrifices the rest.
Yep.
Oh, this card doesn't do what we thought it did. Each player chooses 6 lands they control, then sacrifice the rest.
Are we going to cut this bit out then? Maybe? We can carry on.
Yeah.
I got excited because this reminded me of Wildfire, which was 6 mana sorcery where each player sacrifices 4 lands and deals 4 damage to each creature. I thought this was kind of a similar effect.
Yes.
Which would have been great in Vivi. I think we probably just cut this bit out.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Shit. Well, I'm not going to be picking this up then.
Oh, that's so funny because
I thought you paused. You I thought you'd had your brain had switched off. I was getting worried about you.
No, I just suddenly read it out loud and was like, oh, okay, that's what that does.
Chooses 6 lands they control the sacrifice. This is not. This is one for the blooper reels.
This is one for the bloopers. Okay.